Yagi Jonin Dipe Zokakin, Zoran Panja Sanjay Chopasha, and Jodan Soki Jonam La, Shantideva Dagi Gapti, Yagi Jonin Dipe Zokakin, Zoran Panja Sanjay Chopasha, and Jodan Soki Jonam La, Shantideva Dagi Gapti, Yagi Jonin Dipe Zokakin, Zoran Panja
Sanjan Robara shows Tayantan, Gade,
Para
Para,
gate para sum gate body
Tayantan,
gate para sum gate body
Dayantan,
gate para sum gate body
Hola, so. Hola, so that Simja Tamjago to the Topjalana Macheva, Sanje, Gomba, and Bocha Chinaja Tobacha. Teach the Enbe Chanjo Simba Lapjan, Tuition, and Yantalan, Lawa, Shingo, Simba, Togo, Tola, Tujish, Mado, Achgoto, and Kasu Baba de Takanja, Kesichabushiwala, Junju, and the Teshet beginning, some chat.
So we begin, of course, by setting our motivation. That motivation is the directed at doing whatever we possibly can to attain the peerless state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings, knowing that to attain such a state, I must perfect all the trainings on the Bodhisattva path. To perfect those trainings in turn, I must have a very good understanding of what they are about. And to gain that understanding, I must be able to rely upon a non-mistaken source. And so it is with this in mind this morning that I'm here to listen to one of the great mind training texts, the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, as composed by the great master Shantideva.
What in the chat? What is what? And then Namjun was a social set up with the Kumachi set. What in the chat? Rota Rangi Tungi Nankala, more and getting Jatsa Lama, number Tapjala, Tuji Lama Shaja Singh set up.
And as usual, also, we begin also by setting up the merit field in the space in front. In actual fact, our own Guru, in the aspect of the Guru Manindra Shakyamuni Buddha.
What the little combat and it then the Lama Tubia Umbudi, yes, or what? Lama Tumba, Rangi Tawa, Rangi Tinju, Maging Simja Tam, Jet, City, Pamane, Chebe, and Chicasot, City, Pama, Ding, Singama, Dingama, Chen, Toma, Rangi Tinja, and Doari to Simja Tam, Jageta, Masan Mabachin, Rangi Tawa to you, so what the combat.
And that we visualize in the space all around us are all kind mother sentient beings, from the parents we have in this life, to the parents from our previous life, and the previous life to that, and the previous life to that, going back to countless lives that we have had since beginningless time. And in such a way, all the sentient beings of all the 6 realms of existence are represented and included in those all around us.
What is compassion? And Ranga Duna said, Dunga Nangala said, Lama Tuga Umbote, Chivo Omkaba, Temba Amo, Tuga Hong Yigi, Sumja set up, Tuga Honle, Vesepato, Mebatun, Sing Ramjan never, and Kasola, Ishiba, Onla the Chaba Chanta, Ishiba the Lama Tuga Umba Chanta team, only Onko, Chulama Chitu Nebale, and Mijuba, we can take it. What is compassion?
The figure that we have visualized in the space in front is marked by 3 syllables: Om at the crown, A at the throat, and Hung at the heart. From the Hung at the heart, countless rays of light emanate out into pure realms, inviting back the wisdom beings and the empowering deities. The wisdom beings dissolve into the central figure, and the empowering deities confer the nectar of empowerment, some of which overflows at the crown, spontaneously producing the figure of Akshobhya.
What did the compassion? And then they said Lama Tuga Umbote, and Chicago, Nala Rashim compassion.
And that the figure that we are visualizing, the Guru Manindra, it does not exist in the way it appears.
Nala Rashim Mabach. And to be on and the summer tanging, Sosola, because and Chicago, the Comgang, Sosola Chacha, Sosoya, Nala Rashim Mabach compassion.
And that we ourselves, the one doing the meditation, also do not exist in the way that we appear.
아니 투배 공부 공부 고바디야 심지 탐색도 산제 고마 투배 체도 잡아서 심지 탐색도 산제 고마디야 나라라시면 공부시.
And the beings for whom we are doing this, all the sentient beings, and leading them to the state of enlightenment, also does not exist in the way it appears.
나라라시면 인바 인자 나라라시면 인바 인자 다 여당데 때는 좋아하면도 좋다면도 섬색 된jel라 안지가 확정도 아니 녀바녀바스.
And that they're not existing in the way that they appear prompts the question as to how do they exist. They exist in dependence. That and that is something that we should gain conviction in.
때는 좋아 인바 인자 아니 라왕의 주바도 거 용서하면도 선 타다 쳐봐 공부시.
And that since they arise in dependence, it is absolutely and utterly impossible that they could exist in any way objectively themselves. This is something that we need to gain absolute conviction in.
So, we can natural round the Jubayuna, Denny Yondakoba, Denny Jubayina, Rawan Yondako Mevisa, that Rawan Matubayisa, Uni Yore, Yodan that Denny Jubameter, Trosam into some such never Subajin. That money in the top never jiggy, some such a water.
That they're the phenomena lacking any, that because phenomena arise in dependence, completely disallows them from arising in any self-powered manner. And that because they cannot arise in any self-powered manner, they must arise in dependence upon. And so with this in mind, we really need to kind of like work this out in our minds and gain absolute conviction in it. That we need to work at really strengthening that conviction, and we pray, we make aspiration and prayers that we will be able to strengthen that conviction.
다 근데 지금 녀바 띵수번 얘기 아니 근데 가서 녀바 띵수번 얘기 아니 다 가서도 녀발기 아니 저 받을 주제 디바트 자 녀바 띵수번 얘기라 아니 라마투베 오베베 징글라도서 공부시.
And that we may be able to gain utter confidence and conviction in this fact, to be able to accumulate merit, purify negativities. Oh, Guru Devi, please bless me to make this so.
다 징글 라발라다 라마투베 오베 꿀레 두세랑가 외사서 밤네 외사 또서 워스콜라 가서 가시 채와지 밤네 아니 랑게 집어내 마슈네 아니 저 랑집어 라셔 심자타 집어내 마슈네 쇼데 다 토마메 디바리 케바도야 된데기 녀바 띵수바 니발라 바도 주에 디바디고다 나니 되죠 삼삼체.
And that as a result of our making supplications like this, the Guru Manindra in the front sends out rays of light, 5-colored nectar lights with the white light predominant, and that dissolving into the crowns of ourselves and all kind mother sentient beings all around us, purifying all negativities in general, and in particular, any hesitation or doubt we have about this particular point, this particular conviction. They are completely and utterly purified.
다되네 다지 투바 라마투베 오베 징글라 다들은 녀바 띵투바 녀 라마투베 오베 투유라 간제 녀바지 녀 투에게는 징글라도 소데체 발라테나 라마투베 오베 꿀레 외세낭가 어사데 가서 외세낭가 빠도메 보벤나 란다랑 주어다 심자 탐절 마쇼는 외세 또 세부셰 저어지 바네 아니 라마투베 오베 투유로 요바 지다와 신도 나라라시 뭐 방예베게 또 bakhe 와자라시 심자 탐절 줄라 계속 서서 공부하셔.
And that we are continuing our supplications for the Guru's blessing, that they will remain with us to fully support our practice. Again, the nectar lights again emanate from the heart center of the Guru Manindra in front, and this time with the golden yellow light predominant. And this time we were kind of like really bestowing on us this certainty and this potential to gain absolute conviction in the lack of any inherent existence of phenomena, and to be crystal clear on this point.
어디를 공부시 어디를 전 다가 저 라마 투배 공부 검시병원에 다가 지금 검시병원에다 어디를 주주고 쇼트세 어디 다 그거 되게 채도 그거 다 가서 저 가서래 심지 탐제가 또다 심지 탐제가 아니 저 마시베 뭔가 세네 아니 가서래 탑시 송주게 다 탑시 야마테 왔잖아 아니 가서래 아니 지금 데네 대월주에 탈산제 공부토에 쳐도다 오가서데 계속 줘라발라 라베체도 아니 주주고 쇼디 얘기 있어서 어디를 공부하자.
And so then within this atmosphere, in the presence of the Guru Manindra, we will listen to some verses from this great mind training text, the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, and pray that all of the kind of unknowing ignorance that we have will be eradicated, and that we will be able to employ the perfect means to clarify our convictions.
어때? 다들 내 인바인사 가서 저 뭐비 내술라 뭐요거 토네 아니 초콜릿 쳔바이네 이데는 좀 때문에 봐 인자 다 두단데 아니 가서 다 저기 이데는 좀 뒤자매 봐 인자 다 두단데 때문에 중하면도 다 도사매 봐 인자 다 때문에 중하인데 아니 교계 때문에 초발 때문에 용거 봐 인자 아니 저기 코아 쓰긴다 코아당 아니 코아를 타네 냥데 고마 두단데서 아니 교다 코알라 코에 대해 규게 땡들라 때는 코알라 코부요래 아니 코아게 가서데 타리에 대해 규데 땡데 초발라 때는 연구유도 아니 딜라 때는 유데네 마두와 인사 아니 유데네 마두와 인사 다 두단데 땡데 좋아하면도 또 땡데 좋아도 다 리트베 줄래 리트베 되고 연구유 봐서 어다데서 아니 코아 쓰긴데다 아니 저게 냥데스도 못해 유딩이지 그러 녀바니에 유딩이지 뭐유가 내주다 투바처럼 뭐줘야 되겠지 다 차되기도 아 근데 이제 인사 아니 계세가 줘봐라 랍스도 문에 다네게 지금 아니 그 점선 통해 도나다 계세가 줘봐라 랍에 줘고도
And so, because all phenomena lack any objective existence, and that when we look into how they are thereafter established, they arise independence. And this is the way in which phenomena exist. And that this has major ramifications for life itself. And that, you know, the process by which we revolve in cyclic existence, the process by which we can move beyond and gain liberation to the state beyond cyclic existence. All of this is rendered possible because phenomena lack any objective existence. And so this allows for the whole principle of karma, for example, to operate, whereby, you know, the causes and results are kind of very much occur in harmony, so that the particular result is tied to the particular cause and so on. And this is the way in which the phenomena and life and existence functions. And so in the context of our and anybody's engaging in spiritual practice for the purpose of emulating the Bodhisattva practices, such as you know, training in the advice here in the Bodhisattva's way of life, can take great heart in the fact that if one creates the necessary causes, one will be able to enjoy those particular results because of the fact that all phenomena lack objective existence and in fact do arise independence.
아니 저게 딜라데네다 저게 대화주다 동에 세단데 아니 저게 대화주다 동에 세다가 줘봐 쳐다 줘라다 줘봐데 다와 땡중 땡네 중앙 인바 인자 리투베 되고 용화 임바 인자 아니 다 줘봐도 가르쳐는 줘봐도 처음에 봤어도 나베 따와 된 중에 줘봐 처음에 봐서 소리도 다 뒤쳐버려.
And so this is, why indeed this is the foundation on which the whole of the Buddhist premise is based, that the view of, because of the view which is dependent origination, it allows for the means or the action or the behavior that follows, because the suitable result will follow from suitable cause. And that this is made possible because of the view of dependent origination, and that this then yes, this is it.
어디래? 다가 내신 게 지금 다가 내신 게 로아 가서 다가 내신 게 가서래 로아 다 가자 저기 중나 펜토마도네 네마게 생다 signi나라 남바가 쳐 찾아 되거든. 중나 펜토마도나야 네마게 생치.
And from this view, then the behaviors that are promoted are that where possible, be of benefit. If a benefit is not possible, never choose to harm. And so this is sorry.
What did you do? Did you do that? Take what you need. Juna Panto said that take what you be treated. Panto to mother no my dear second and take what you treat chatting.
And so this incorporates all of the lesser and greater vehicles of practice. So the greater vehicle is predominantly predicated upon being of benefit, being proactive in benefiting others, whereas the individual liberation vehicle is concentrating on engaging in no harmful action.
What is that? What is it? That in the Tsering Juna Panto Mother Nemaja Singla number Sanjiva Chokan to dig.
And so therefore all of the Buddhist teachings are summarized in these two sentences as where you can be of benefit, if not never engage in harm.
먼저 전화 맞으나 대화치 뭐 있어요. 왔다. 먼저 전화 맞아 대화치 뭐 있어도 딱 먼저 이게 펜토 거에들도 내 맞이다. 펜토 거에들도 왔다 디인자 다 간제 저거 펜토 맞을 내 맞이 쓰는 게 서버 공고한테 다 셰모거래. 서버 공하도나 어느 쪽으로 와. 다 디인자 다 펜토와 지금 있으니까 대장의 서버 공고로 왔다. 로아 서버 공고 다 다른 것도 가서 봐베게 서베게 lưu的 量的 로아 서베 lưu的 量的 다 같이 지금 가서래 펜토마도는 뇌마게 쓰는 되게야 서버 공고요. 서버 먹으면 뇌계로 와. 딱 뭐지 딱 녀바도 펜토도 봐 지고래 쓰는 데다 내마게 와서 뭐 펜토도 봐 지금 쓰긴 되게 다 녀바도다 서버 먹으면 탑에 되는 거지도 왔다. 탑에 되지도.
And so, for example, from the Mahayana vehicle, whether we qualify or not is another thing. But the premise is there that one is always seeking to benefit. So even in the context of the chapter we are doing now, chapter 6 on patience, that the proposal is that through abiding in patience, we can be of benefit. The benefit will ensue, and that and it's saying that without patience, then harm will follow. And so this is the presumption here as well. And so therefore, patience is very much a part of the Mahayana ideal. And it goes without saying that patience is essential, of course, for our spiritual progress.
올라서. 지단 저 소바생들 내라고 요말 내라고 매번 인사 아니 가두나네 초대는 소바래 손에데 내가 뒤쳐라. 지단 냠내 지어먹고 쉬우지어래. 시에 요때 이내야 가두나네 아니 소바래 가두 쳐지 요말에 생인데 아니 그 믹스에게 가서래. 지 가서다 앙당 토부지 제도와 오 서바데 까tum나게 초래서 그 앙당 토부지 제도 왔다 거기 내가고 좀 해봐 인자 뒤수고 열봐.
And so the kind of the fact that patience and the being able to apply patience consistently is not easy is demonstrated by that line previously in the text where it says there is no austerity like patience. And so it's really pointing to the fact that it's difficult. It's difficult. It's a very high level. You know, you're operating at a very high level if you're able to maintain genuine patience in the face of harm, etc.
앙당도 토부시대다 저 로아페나 지와 주요만다 지와딜라 앙당 나인 지와딜라 앙당 주인 지와딜라 앙당 니슈인스는 저 렌잡도 앙기라에 저봐 다 서바들 앙게 토치제도 서바는 가두고 초인스.
So in a test of practices, for example, you know, you get the highest marks for patience because it is that difficult. More difficult.
Yeah. But what that is what I can say ngarazo nyamlen ge puta bo re mare de soba yani chile da tu de gidwa ngarazo sam ali nega ge sem ki ma je de soba yani la tu de gidwa to da de ge soba yong la ko to choma bu china samlo ta ne da ge chi shu de sem je la guzi chi ye sem je de za chen bu si ye or did you do any good? Dilla me by Kondo Saya, that Dilla me by Maguba Yongede, Stang Yungurwa, Diputalula Tene. Then you might not got the Tambune, got the Semjala mean the same get in the same pit of Wiki, and chop Mambutinus, Jumze chop Mambuna Samlotanjane, and the Gach was so the Gach was so a Dilla Tene, and Dilla Tene, Chatang Lord Yungajo Yungurwa.
And so it's a good, very good way if one is doing some sort of a stock take on one's practice to see where one is at. Just simply focus on your patience. How efficient is your practice of patience? It will give you a good indication of where you are in your overall spiritual practice. And it needs to be, you need to look at this from many, many different angles. It's a complex practice. And so it's kind of like, you know, to maintain always this very high degree of respect for sentient beings in general, all sentient beings, how precious are all sentient beings, and that you know, you can't, how do you say, have, you know, anger, resentment, etc., impatience towards those for whom you have such you high in such high regard, who are so important to you, and so it's very important that we sustain and indeed nourish this attitude towards all sentient beings, and that's worthwhile then coming at it from all these different angles. This will be something like a foundation for one's patience practice.
최종의 시라부터는 참 마셔봤잖아요. 양의 양도 좀제 초만분에 상로단에 아니 지금 가서래 가서 삼중의 시랍 게투바제지. 그러나 삼중의 시랍 게투바제다 다 게지 뭐 삼중의 시랍 게투바이나고 조함해봐 때부터 되죠. 최종의 시랍 되게 그 야외 시랍 인자 시라시라 누바스케 요 말이. 그 누바스케 요 말이. 다 셀라 제세자야다 하고에를 팽거리다 이네디 냠래라 뽕에들라 삼중의 시랍 마기나 편도금도.
And so in this regard to be able to temper the kind of attachment and aversion that we deal with others through, is that we move away from what's called the wisdom arising from learning to the wisdom arising from contemplation. It's a big step. That we are moving away from simply relying on another's explanation for why we should behave in such a way to that which is confirmed by ourselves through our own analysis. That's why the wisdom arising from contemplation is so important, that we see the value of being able to transform our lives in this way and adjust our behaviors.
삼중의 시랍 개바딜라 아니 삼중의 개랍 걔네 아니 들라 유들라 아니 거저 조금 지어도 아니 감정을 싫어 줘. 다 감정을 싫어 줘도 또밖에 오르와. 어때들 다 근데 임바 인상 근데 임바 인상 왔다 돼서 지금 퇴상 감성 야마트와 쳇 야마트와 트레이트 삼중의 싫어 잠을 참아셔 쳇네 어다 거다 최종의 시럽 잠을 참아셔 삼중의 시럽 개바데 검중의 시럽 개투바 쓰여졌나 다 가져데 가솔래 저거 다 가져데 저 가서 뒤다 저 가서데 저 차사와 저 뭐도 유튜브 제치
That's the wisdom arising from learning can be stickle, can be unstable, whereby when we, place it in the furnace of our own analysis through the wisdom arising from contemplation, it reaches a great deal of stability. Furthermore, we can deepen that further through a placement meditation in the wisdom arising from meditation, and ultimately attain what's known as realization. And so it's important that we are able to practice all three levels of assimilation in a way, and in unison, that we see the value of each one, and that this is the kind of way which we can get to the actual reality of things.
다들 임바자 산지의 고마 줍 세대 왔다 되더라. 내가 내주 신바 당고 신다제 신배던데 랑도 예바 장다제 예바 장바데 아니 가서됐다 가서데 다 친지 말로 봐 똑바 제들와 다 친지 말로 봐 똑바 타지 버도 되는 산제 고마스고 봐.
And so we talk about our practice on the path to the state of enlightenment, and that our progress and so on that path. And so we're moving from that which is the wisdom which is attained from outside externally to that which is self-won wisdom through that process of contemplation and analysis, to the deeper level of realization. When we talk about gaining the unmistaken affirmation of the information through realization, and now we're talking about really getting close to the state of enlightenment.
잡아대 세상 주서 저거 조금 제도다 근데 계좌 좀 말아 봐. 잡아 세상에서도 가두이네. 아니 거쳐다 또 조금도 잘하지. 조금도나 아니 저도 봐 소야 되가 되게 되가 잡아대 세상에서도 다 냐봐도 잘하지 거에다 되게 돼 차지도 와.
And of course, the twin mental factors of mindfulness and alertness are ever present in this process. Regardless of what stage of wisdom we are trying to develop, and that is part and parcel of every practice and should pervade that checking process. Even during our placement meditation, of course, we are checking with our mindfulness and alertness as to whether we are still focused on the object or not. Shokran Gyatang Truktu Reptun Gila Samba Sambate Nieba Bache Chebe Kawame Ripala.
다 지단 저거 콘로 사이드 저가라서 콘로 사이드 릭망부 연구요 왔다 릭망부 연구요 다 근데 이제 답변에 단도 수바 니발라 바체 제발라 초아 개고도는 뒤 초아 미릭발라 ngacha 니바 뉴도 집에 뒤에 바체라 초아 미릭바 Rata Lobiasa never do Gaba Nebala Seva Mirigba Petuba Nebala Seva as a Mirigba Jumsen never do Rigba Neba as a do Kaba was.
And so we're at the third main outline, that pointing out that that anger towards obstacles to our gaining of material benefit is incorrect. And 5 subheadings that deal with this. And it's really worthwhile looking at the fact of here, the way all of these headings are presented. It's really also worthwhile understanding that anger has so many different avenues towards which it can arise, and that it's being dealt with one by one here, very, very, in a very clever way, because, you know, we have these many triggers, I suppose, to promote anger. So the 5 subheadings dealing with this point is the fact that anger is incorrect with regard to the obstacles towards our accumulating material benefit, because it will quickly be destroyed anyway. Secondly, refuting the wrong livelihood. Thirdly, an example to show the inadequacy of having any clinging towards material gain, and the reasoning behind why that clinging to material gain is incorrect. And fifthly, refuting the accumulation of material gain itself.
What is it? What is that? That teacher. That about never knew the chief day by Jello Tua Miribane, Zawale, never Pache, Jawai, get it that Miduna, Daji never did Torki, Daji never did Torki, the Watani, Temper Nets.
So the first of these subheadings then was the anger is incorrect towards the obstacles to our gaining material gain, because it will quickly be destroyed and quickly be lost. Verse number 55. Because it will hinder my worldly gain. Even if I do not want this, I shall have to leave my worldly gains behind, and my negativity alone will remain unmoved.
What the Chantaka, Tanda the Niabala, Penasoso, Raya Karina, de la Pache chicken genus, Pena Lega Raya, Yimbainata, Tapena top cosa Raya, Yimbainata, Takari, Kari in Edge, de Chielata, Pache, Chuaina, Suavata. Shimbachi Nukevaina, Yana Dilaten, Sosu, like Kunju and Maraba Sovaina. What that Sigur Bata, what the Niaba Pache Cheveche, get it Shengi, near me saw Chava Deda. Miduna, because Miduna, the data Midu to Senata, Nemiso Chavate, that do Midus Sena, Dagi never the nears or Tuja, they are new to the sociological Gujala, Yubaineta, Rayeti, Chirava in Eco, Namshina, never charter remendo, Casole, Tico, Takwa Temba, Tembush, Native Camaris, you to Toji. Di tondo choya sa ta di raya tondo ta jigo kondo kena magi wachena digwa ta ne tebu majang ba ta jiga sodo tebu majang ba chene ta kondo sawa dila tene le nyamba sawe tebu te ta rangi sikme tondo pacha chane ne digres ane ko digwa top chebu sana koda nami ge tebu ta ane jaba gyode nyoha gyode ta de la so wachena ta kaja mutu no kola ne gyushtu de gwa ta donda nyaba chungju jiga donda la Tondala ta dunga mutune ta 주의 규칙 때문에 내되기도 다 된대 임바서 오다 녀바데 마주잖아 있어 녀바데 다 중나 야고래 마주에네 다 지금도 마주네 지금도 걔 내가 그러면도 그 중모중 쓰거든 미셔봐 소셔 그만 소소 래래 라래 되고 여바 인사 마주네 지금도 다 콘도사나 다 자원인데 지금도 콘도사나 안 딜레테네 다 지금서 콘도사와라 테네 다 가자 레니바 나소와지 사기도 레니바 나소와지 사원데 아니 다 자원인데 지금도 콘도사나다 지금도 오다 되잖아 지금 소소라디 라에게 너밖에 왔는데라 너밖에 왔들라 콘도 마사 왔잖아 다 콘도 사바이나 소소 종이라고도 왔다 지금 너밖에네 내가 말아봐 다 소소라 튕겨 말아봐 직제 딜라 때는 모든의 동아에게 규슈도 되기도 하고 어다디 지지 못도 숨도 와 그래 미리서 셔봐오자
And so here, talking about obstacles that can be placed in kind of road to your material success and material gain. It doesn't just refer to objects here. It refers to, that obstacles placed in your way in getting a job or getting a promotion or a high position, whether it's somebody actually harming or interfering with that process. And so here, it's saying that really all of these obstacles, are not worthy of anger. Anger is the wrong response in that case. And to show that these high positions, these gains, these materials and so on are very unstable. Nothing is stable, and that as it says here, and that, if obstacles are placed in the way of your material gain, it could be others disparaging or insulting you, and that's something that you do not want, of course. But even though you gain a great deal, you won't have it for long because it will quickly have to be discarded. You'll have to leave it aside, and that and the negativities that you have accumulated, through anger and so on, for towards getting those materials or keeping those materials and so on, that will stay on your mind stream as an imprint on your mind stream unless it's purified, and will have to ripen as a result. So you'll have the fully ripened result of a negative rebirth to deal with. Then you'll have the experiential result related to the action, experiential result related to the experience itself, the environmental results and so on. That all of this is a whole plethora of negative consequences that you have to deal with because of your anger. And it's kind of saying here that if I you have to have a much more philosophical attitude. If I get what I'm after, fine. If I don't get what I'm after, fine. Anger, it should never be the choice to respond. It is just so counterproductive. One is because you accumulate a whole plethora, a wide variety of negative karmas on your mind stream, and also you have that's one fault. You have the fault of not getting what you want. Then you have the fault of laying down causes for your own continuous suffering into the future. So it's a double whammy of negativity. And so really it's an unwise choice to have to engage in anger in this particular context.
타바다 탐색 좀 되게 열어봐. 다 돼. 다 된데 그 된다 충종제라 소소 안에 지금 타바다 탐색 좀 계획 제바이나 계획 제바이나 타바다 탐색 좀 주에 계획 제바이나 아니 거기 계획체와 쓰기도 세디기 네바 충종지 계획체 뭐 쓰기도 왜 타바다 탐색 좀 계획체와 쓰기도 다 뒤에 되어져도 와. 좋아. 근데 전에게 지가서데 샘 딩네 타바다 탐색 좀 계획체 뭐 쓰기 여바이나 아니 디 충중 지금 돈다라 돈다 충중 좀 맞주바 디 괜찮네 타바다 탐제 겸에 계획 저거 좀 재면도 와다 타바다 탐제 겸에 계획 전부 찍어 여마나 계 충중데 타바다 탐제 겸에 줄로 줘도 봐 써야 돼다 운에 전에 소소 미유도 두고도 와.
So really, from our point of view here, we obviously have a motivation to attain the state of liberation and the omniscient state of enlightenment. So when it comes to these kind of incidents in our life, we have to ask ourselves the question, is it really smart to get upset at this kind of these kind of minor incidents, and thereby create an obstacle to my attaining the important goals of liberation and the omniscient state of enlightenment? And so you have to weigh up, please, what is more important in this case. We do have the awareness to make the right choice, to say, this is something that, is not important enough for me to get upset at, me to get angry at. What's far more important is that I'm able to actually transform this particular incident into a cause that will lead to liberation and the omniscient state of enlightenment. And that otherwise I do not sweat the small stuff.
마토와 소토와이나 아니 라라 뇽모 키기문도아 아니 디칸델라타 마토와 짬마인바 아니 딜라 닝지케토와 로 딜라 닝지케토와 아니 디 아니 킹의 람도 켄네 타바다 탐제케베 줄러 줍토바이나타타 지금 소소게 가서라 닝보들 렌토스와 닝보다 디 닝보 렌타발라타네 드네 가센데 녜라 슈에네 신레 다 간제 지 가서라 디 안타 소소라 문에다네 코란 르 땅제네 안 소소라 타바다 탐제케베게 유튜브에 스베 냠네 두베게 아니 지금 튕게 자오소로 차되기도 와 차되기도 와
And so here, it's, to be able to look at these conditions that might, cause difficulty, whether it's obstacles towards our work, or indeed somebody engaging in harm towards us one way or another. If we are able to really bypass anger in those instances, then we are also not falling under the influence of any mental affliction. We have still the door open for our to be able to generate compassion. And that here, we are able to take the incident, take our life, this misfortune or whatever it is, onto the path. And this is something that is called taking the essence of our lives. And surely that is the way to go. That is something that we can see, to be able to use that incident to create a cause for enlightenment, for the omniscient state of enlightenment through our application of patience in that time.
오다 주디 아니 가투이네 줍투바 제티 로다 가제 먼저 단다 저거 디기게 롱제베 두지 말에 디기게 타체베 디기지 로다 가제 저 타체베 디기지 두베 다 유튜브에 두지인데 아니 가투이네 잡아다 시신게 손제네 아니 가투이네 다 동네 좋아이네 다 대화 좋아이네 다 그 개바 요 말에 근데 좋아이네 디 아니 저 땡도 디기게 아니 가서 땡기도 되게 아니 튕겨를 줘도 같이지 디 유튜브도 같이지 다 먼저 랭게做的 다 근데 중앙에는 아니 컨트롤 사야 다 되게 너무 거 쳐대 그거 뭔지 놔두고도 왔다 다디 많이 봐줘 다다랑 배 내가 그 디기도 맞으나 탑 맵에 소리 제가 있는데 아니 다디 개치슈 제가 있는 아니 너무로 그거 슈 놔두고도
So something I've emphasized before is that this is not the season for us to enjoy results, but the season for the accumulation of causes. And it's to see that is very, very important, that wherever we are, whenever we see it as not necessarily the time to indulge in happiness, the resultant side of things, but rather using our mindfulness and alertness to be able to really generate the causes. So whatever happens to it, whether it's suffering, whether it's happiness, that we are able to transform that moment into a cause for a lasting happiness into the future, and to see, all of life and all of what occurs as conducive conditions for the laying down of causes. We are in the season of laying down the causes, and it's kind of very, very important that this becomes our main responsibility, and see it as our main responsibility, and to understand that so many of these moments have been lost because of anger that has just, chosen, used that situation to take advantage. And so here it's the most important part of our lives to be able to see all of what occurs to us. Doesn't matter what it is, but we are laying down the causes for the future, lasting, definite, stable happiness.
Tuba Kabani, so Lobe never Tuba Kabani, Tubane, Zawalia, Dani Ding, Xian La, Losu using Sumiro, Tata using, because Tata using, Nature Young, and a Chue Dunga Deni.
So the second point then is the refutation of of wrong livelihood. And this is verse number 56, which says, "Thus it is better that I die today than live a long but wicked life. For even if people like me should live a long time, there will always be the suffering of death."
Topji Chewata, never saw some of the Lamrim Nalchin, but what the Channel Taka Jeje, Denza, Dani, never, Dani is a never, never, Dengi to share that log so them because of the Matewa Che, the Ketchamores, a log so that never. The Rotaka, the Lotto that Dewe never did that, and Maniba Jen, so the Shiva in there, or that Titi Yores, Dakaja, Lai, Shella Nebe as a corner, Lotto that dancing to, and Lotto Jen, and using Bubodo never in there, the Kazoke was somebody mirror there, said what that somebody in the Kazoke, but Maruma chat there or this, right? Maruma Chita, Dada. Da would using to never Jujan, so to Lotto launch and using would never know. Tamja Donata Chicoina touch over it, right? And Chue doing it, Denile, Madivas, that Chue doing it to Madivas, that Chue doing it, the Maja and Lotto then the teacher to any Caso de D. Lenya Basawa Tene and Caso de Takaja. That you bring your son to Ganualas what the young take this. What is
And so wrong livelihood here can be related to the 5 types of wrong livelihood as mentioned in the graduated path teachings of gaining through flattery, gaining through hinting, and gaining through seeking reward for favor, gaining through the use of force, and gaining through contrived means. And so here is saying that, rather than live for a long time through a wrong livelihood of harming others, it is better that I die today with nothing at all. And it's King saying that because even if I live a long time, the inevitable end is death. The death will come anyway. And so that we cannot avoid that.
Ganja Casore, Takanja, Milo Kogotan, Yojushi, the negative, and the Juno Lonjo Sada, the Runguyo Maris, Rata, Kanja, Jingo, to the Tibetan, Takacha, and the launch, and what that Chicasoda, Rangi, Chicasoda, Tunja, the get the Cheddar Tibetan, Cheddar Tibetan, water, try to catch Mores, what is Sunguyo, what
And so here, to really avoid these ways of gaining through some sort of guile or deceit or or deception, as mentioned here, the flattery, the hinting, and so on. But to make sure that we are proceeding in our life in accordance with the Dharma, in harmony with the Dharma, is most important.
Rangi because what that got the church to be 20 years old to watch, church to be getting a man to watch. That looks what the church to be getting a chimbarwa. That's also got a church to be 20 years old to watch.
And so that whatever we gain should be always used as a conducive factor for our spiritual practice, not as an obstacle to our spiritual practice. Be clear on that.
다 수바 니발라 세바 메리베 베주바니사 자왈레 밀람 로자 데뇨네 세바 주바 칸인다 셴셰 유삼 데뇨네 세바 주바 칸인바 세바 주바 데다 니가라야 대와데네 치와메 체린 체도 니가야 치웨데네 찬르세.
Next comes an example to establishing the incorrectness of clinging to gain, to material gain. The verses number 57 and 58 come together. Suppose someone should awaken from a dream in which he experienced 100 years of happiness, and suppose another should awaken from a dream in which he experienced just one moment of happiness. For both of these people who have awoken, that happiness will never return. Similarly, whether my life has been long or short, at the time of death, it will be finished like this.
세바 전에 착대 다디가 최주에 튕겨를 배주 당도 고우여는 것을 사회면 되면 대사면서 가서 것을 류대 삭제가 풍부 인바 인사 삭제 풍부다 풍부될 때에 사회 고 통계 고구도 대사 고구도 아니 지금 차조라서 같은데 고 튕겨 고구도 남지 장나 양고도 조에 튕겨 고구도 사부 연하야 장외 튕겨 고구도 되면은 것을 중화식 류기 중식 권영 뭐잖아 소소 두부대다 중식 또 축소나 아니 나사요 나자 나나 아니 최치다 줍토야 코라 요 말와다 줍토 말와다 간자 소소 류 동해 숙제 보시 나는 거 줍토야 코라 가보지 그래 거 지금 그런 내 도보 말에 그런 내 도보 내봐야다 아니 거 지금 나사 가리네 거 최를 배주 당 도와줘 오늘 내 당보 가보러 와 왔다 데데 자 튕겨 고고 요르데 얘네 디 시우지 개체 못 쓰네 디 시우지 개체 못 쓰는 다디 쳐요 말을 소로 기부시게 밀란도 로자 대원년 니람나라 로자 니세바 주바 가니 바다다 니세온데 코 로자 밀란의 대원 녀소 삼사절부터 코 니세도 코 게데스게 요마르와 셴시 밀란도 유잠 대원 요니라 케바카에 요마르스 대화 추추스녀에다 지금 로자wan 나왔잖아 대화 용안이들 니 세바주도 그 되스게 요마라다 어디를 용서 삼사치면도 니 세바주바 칸이바 대다 니가라 밀람게 대화되니 니 세바나 치원다 양조 그 템바날 되게 중스만도 그 되스게 요말 그 양조 용에게 요말 내봤다 세르와다 세도와 니가야 치외도서 뒤선 뭐냐와 배바 칠미와 당뭐 녀대에게 그다음에 뒤에 뭐래 동에 고칠 용해서 준비 유점도 좋아 된다세베 네바 라 차바 미리소 샤바보다 그 지금 다들 그래 당어도 지금 라베나 가상 기부를 시우 중원할 링가를 다 파티를 기부 시우 중원이나 가상 기부 중원서 전반 날지 어디 기부 중원 상사저 얼마다 되게 그게 요마르와 돼 그게 요마르 그게 요마르와다 어디를 어다 되는 임바자 거 창의 시부지 개정보다 타마드는 다 시조를 가야 돼서 그면도 어디를 차과 미리소 셔봐 오죠.
And so here describing one person who is dreaming for 100 years and then wakes up, and the other dreaming for just a brief moment and then wakes up, and both the experience of the dream is gone. You know that it's a past tense; it won't come back again. And so we have here saying whether one has a long life or a short life, it's the what it at the end. You know that the time is past, and that all of what you went through for previous experiences will not come again, and all you have is the memory of it now, and that it has all been exhausted. Therefore, attachment is really, wrong towards it. It's kind of like pointless. And so here, of course, we need, as people with the contaminated aggregates of a body, there's a certain kind of limited kind of needs that we have. food, for example. We need to shelter from the cold, shelter from the heat, and so on. And so here, if we have the imbalances in our elements, we're going to be sick, and we need medicine. We need to rely on medical help and so on. And so that's important, because if we are enduring too much bodily suffering, it's very hard to engage in decent spiritual practice. It's a different matter altogether if you're a very high level practitioner. But from our point of view, yeah, there are certain comforts that we need to be able to cater to the needs of these contaminated aggregates. But it's important that there should be no grasping or attachment. That's key, and that because it's pointing out here that regardless of how long you have experienced this happiness, it will end, and so all you have is the memory of it. And that it's like the party we had last week, beautiful, great, really good fun, but now all you're left with is the memory of it. It's something itself. The experience itself has passed. It's gone.
다 되게 그 팬케게 말서 덴베 유자면도 개면도 다 디스 체도 사베 디바디 다 캔을 줘야 봐. 다 디바디 캔을 줘야 돼. 다 된대 임바인사 된대 임바다 다 딜레 개쳐한테 지가서데 거쪽에 땡기 디기 주가리샤 아니 주된 것도 주변에 배준지 지게 임바이나 배준지 지게 임바이나 그 모두네 디기 용해지 용되기도 와. 다 세디게 지게 주자라고 강바자고 다들 뭐다라고 되게 전부 쉬우서 지네 개천부 쉬우지네 아니 디체도 랑게 류가 예수고 누가 차다 될 때 대바 얘나 대바이나 다 되게 가소래 다 되게 지금 가소래 지금 셈마제we 강에 망보지 체에 다 쉬우지 용되기도 용되기도 디게 전부 쉬우지는 저 거뒤네 저 강에 용되기도 하고 다 땡케we 다 날 야고 차서서 거뒤네 용하여 말 배나 졸라치에 메나 졸라 야중나 삼사시도 야중서나 다 졸라 야기 지금도 동고사래 삼사시도 동 중앙이나 어다 티 맞으는 연구문도 삼다 티 중나 어다 봄 맞으는 연구문도 삼 봄 주나 아니 가서 다 저거 사야 맞으는 지금도 사야 주나 다 간자 다 갈래 사야 주다 빌렌스로 다 간자 되네잖아 다 틀린다 먹고 싶기도 다 되지 맞춘다 야야 다 즉수 삼사제 용해 호라민도가 그 용해 호라면 되겠지 야 가자 중에 마당 거지 가자 중에 마당 거지 지금 용대지도 왔다 그 가자 다 소소 그 류라 되게지 거기도 다 되게지 되게도 사사 소소 거네 생거 타지 제마도나 거뒤네 아니 마상게 소리 차 되기도 와 마상게 차 되기도 와 아니 먼저 미제라는 차요래 치원이 버려 남친이 매래 아니 치외세는 다 쳐마도 가게 말 소소 루부대 개매 봐 심바 파샤네 건가샤네 굿바이 전에 줘야 되도 그봐
And so in this particular case, that these experiences from the past, that benefit is gone. But the negativities that you have accumulated during that time, they remain on the mind stream. They will continue on to cause suffering into the future. So we have to really see, what is really more important to be able to place the emphasis where it is most important. And that surely has to be the capacity we have to lay down the causes for a definite happiness into the future and to create the conditions for continuous happiness into the future. That's important. Rather than placing over importance on the gaining of the perfect car, the perfect house, that all of our potential, all of our capacity put into the accumulation of money, for example, and that getting on in life, and that as well as the negativities that are accumulated there, you're also encountering constant problems because it's there's resistance to that, difficulties and issues that you have to deal with, and so on, and that the idea of placing kind of money at the very pinnacle of your goals for life. You start off with $1, and then you want $10, and then you want $100, and then 1,000, and then 10,000, then 100,000, then 1,000,000. And 1,000,000 is never enough. When you have 1,000,000, you need 1 billion, and 1 billion will have to lead to 1 trillion. And it's kind of like this case of you've never been satisfied. Enough is never enough. There's no end to it when you're kind of like under the control of that kind of clinging, that kind of attachment. And so it's kind of like this sense of whenever, there's always this sense of incompleteness in your life. There's something missing. And so we have to really understand, life that we have is a limited process. It's short enough. Death is definite. The time of death is indefinite, and at the time of death, only our spiritual practice will be any good to us, and everything else that we have dedicated so much energy to accumulating has to be left behind. You can't take it with you.
他反正这个身边闲了偏偏切入以后，我到各自去那过的，各自去那个，到底嘛了，俺了个个都是接这个药了吧？俺了个个都是这个我说了个个药了，个个药嘛的。但身边闲了偏偏，我当俺了的这个都在以内，身边闲了偏偏切入以后是呢，俺个主要的切这个药了吧？或那个是开门多啊，现在切入各自呢，对吧？原来那个药嘛的，他让个切入什么当中，真的他。And
so kind of like if you are utterly dedicated to benefiting others, there is no danger in whatever you want to accumulate for that purpose. It's only going to be of benefit to others. But if you think it's something that I need for myself, or I want for myself, then that is a mistaken attitude. That's the where you go wrong. That the accumulation of material gain is not wrong in itself. It's only wrong when you do so for your own purpose, for your own self, or the selfish reasons of gaining more and more and more. Whereas the benefit to others should be always the key focus of our gaining anything.
是我的这个本来当的这个罗尼说拿了，他的 COVID 给捐助呢 ，COVID 给捐助呢，他 COVID 拿着的捐助呢，这个他没忙起来，怎么的这个刚刚刚跳的，这个他没忙起来刚跳，两个了刚跳的，忙不了刚跳的，感谢的人家说旁边兵家在那刷钱要的。不过他在那刷钱了，刚收钱不是吧？但今年呢，当时这个感谢南就给这边角给全部这个，边角加全部都是刚忙太多。等我先把感谢，或者感谢民主党个多，他别老送个这个这边找了介绍他妈说是，不，我们啥样嘛不就是，个没给把钱的太这个多。但我这南就没说你这个错给的这，刚才的就是在那天天刚才这个没给把天天刚才的民多。对吧？大概就给全部修这个的，他刚刚忙出这个多。你讲
，So, for example, you can look at the past 2 to 3 years during the COVID pandemic, and the restrictions and so on that have been imposed, indeed, all around the world, where people couldn't go to work and so on, and furthermore, they had friends and relatives pass away due to the pandemic itself. But for many, like they were very much kind of like had to endure restrictions of livelihood because they couldn't make the money that they could beforehand. And this caused great, misery and unhappiness in so many because they were so restrained and so limited because they couldn't earn like they could before or even go out and enjoy. And so this shows that, the degree to which you place importance on money is the degree to which those people suffered during that time. And that those who had less regard for money were able to deal with the issue in a much more sane way.
다 내가 총바 가셔다 닌제 아니 코난조 배 마가 코난 배시는 배 깜반이 코난 고점의 강에 텐 안디고 셈마 이네 코도 사회 통해 매가 강에 요 말에 이네 다 무버 첨부 쉬고 지금 다 남주 용바도 매바 차도 셈마기 뭐 쉬고 차되기도 와 다 이네 코도 사회 통해 강에 요 말, 단대 강에 요 말때 이네야 니마 용바 첨부 전에 디 말아도 다 마기 뭐 차되기도 와 닌제
So I know several people who were in business, and that during that time, of course, businesses remained closed, and that they suffered greatly, but not because they were short of food and drink and so on. And even today, they have plenty of food and drink, but rather that they suffered greatly because of the absence of great profit. You know, they weren't gaining that income that they were before. And this caused them tremendous mental misery.
쉬우지 개치 못지데 디메아티데 마기 버쳐 이나 덴데 인감 매건 점을을 칸데 와데 저 마기 버가 요 말에
And so that you know, when one is so kind of attached to something, and then the absence of that then creates this misery. But they weren't in any way taking into account the kind of like the fact that this was a condition which affected the whole world. It was simply their income that was down, and therefore that caused them suffering.
가서는 점을는 미 패치와 덴데 인감 요 말때 이네 셈을 강에데 제가 요 말. 나코라돌 디 인감데 남주 유에다 다 매바 차도 디 마기 바차디기도. 이네 디 사회 도에 매바데 그 말이. 다 이네야 디 인감들 착되어라. 데다 착되도 다 강에데 제디기도.
And so even though most people in the world were without income at that time, that didn't, you know, cause them.
말해. 봐서 코란돌 총바 첨부주가 인감지 여봐 미 점을 미 패쳐올 텐데 인감지 요 말이 때 이네 셈을 강에 책임은 도. 다 코란돌 인감지 요바디 매바차도 가서들 착되어라 뒤로와. 인감지 매바디 레모도 딜 착배 온 거제도 와. 좋아. 미 패쳐와라 뒤요 말때 매바 이네 강에 뒤 문도와. 강에 되면 도. 다 가서 딜 착되도 엔티 마중도 강에 책임도 와.
So that you know, like for most people in the world, their income was affected at that time, and that but it wasn't an issue for many. But for those who were attached to that, that caused great difficulty for them at that time, and that you know, even though they still had, you know, the requirements for leading a good life and leading plenty of food and drink and so on, yet that terrible misery because of the halt in their income caused great difficulty.
어디 벤처 친구들도 강하지. 야 남주 니리 내가 저기들 가셨다. 또 오스트레일리아 날 가셨 돈을 깨져서 디디 뺏기고 좀 내가 내보고 뺏어나게 됐어. 야, 릭지대라다. 남주 내가 충종 제대가 되는 여봐. 내가 저 남주 내가 먼저 라자라고 요 말와. 그 록다운 저 내가 맞지 내 라자라기도 뺏기고 좀 또.
Then say for many others who had like were doing like not that much work, but that even when the lockdown came and they couldn't go to work, they still got the government handouts, and so they were very, very happy. They still don't work, but even still, I get some money. Very happy for them.
간제들도 다 간제들 다 저다 저 어떤 데 용되기도 다 간제들 개체 뭐 쉬우 지연도 아니 말아도 강한체 되기도 강한체도 다 착바스 것도 강한체다 되는데 아니 착바스 교노 런제다 된들 차소나 다 강한체도 맞으나 아니 마기바 차 되기도 마기바 차 되기도 아니 딜러 녀바기 괜찮아 아니 더 콘도 사기도 와 다 거기서 ngoro khondro saya da diga nga ko chakdang la tene yong de ge yorba chapa de tene ene ko tangwa de yong de ge yorba ro so so go deba ti ala dile ge jigen chudo ene dile tangwa ge ge yorba ene bena mi ji ge so so la sik du ja la no ngoro khondro sa ge yor karesna ngoro sik yak bo la ye la cha ge yorba gushap ji la cha ge yor mi gushap ma je do khondro sa ge yorba ro bena mi ge nyeba ma te na khondro sa ye de so so nyeba la cha ge yorba insa 아니 내가 맞아다 콘서트하기 열봐. 좋아.
And so when somebody places a great importance on something, that's an indication of how much attachment they have to it. And so when that is absent, then the suffering arises from that attachment and the unhappiness. And so, and also, of course, from that, then anger can arise towards those who are perceived to be creating an obstacle to their income, for example, or whatever it is they consider to be so important for themselves. And so you can see how anger arises from attachment, and that in say somebody who has great attachment to feeling respected by others, are greatly inconvenienced when that respect is not forthcoming. Why? Because of the attachment towards that respect. And so you can see how anger arises from that sense of attachment. So this is part of the 8 worldly concerns of gaining and not gaining and so on. And so to recognize, yes, in this life, we do require certain living conditions. That's not in question here. But what we have to do is to really ensure that we don't place a sense of overimportance on those conditions, and to especially proceed free of attachment. That's the most important, you know. That like we have like to regard the food and drink and so on that we partake of like as medicine. It's like when we have a sickness in the body, we take medicine, and to see it like that, to take it in the right dosage, the right amounts, is very important. And to not attach so much attachment to kind of like to these things, these necessities of life, and to kind of see the fault in this attachment, and to be able to make unmistaken choices. And so we can see the kind of providing of these conditions for the maintenance of the body as conducive conditions for Dharma, for the practicing of Dharma, and even to train the mind to have the same attitude, even when those conditions are absent, and that we still see them as conducive conditions for the practice of Dharma.
Today in my Netan Gade in my church way the Manuga, Tunja Yabush, which one at a pipe start, a seven start, the dinner day, Tunja the Johnson, church way the Manuga. That cake Tunja Mevach and a bed, there's a job with shoes and Sergeant Kaya Yabu Masanga, the Lichiba in a 랑게 저거 쳐주베라 아니 개개 맞제베 치지 튼게 약고 되게 돼 쳐주베 그 튼게라 줘도와 야 튼게 약고 매개 지금 빼 지금 여봐 이네 딜 막기바 맞제바 디야 쳐주베 튼게라 줘도와 지겠지 단내단 근데 지만은 로아 상다 년다 근데 지마 이네 안 되게 그가 쳐주베 튼게라 배주 땅 줘봐 제도바 이나 제도바 이나 땅 하나 주게 미제데 된다 대마 생각도 차고 열봐
And therefore, that whatever the situation is, we should have the means and the skill to be able to see it as a situation whereby we can apply our Dharma practice. Whether we are staying in a 5-star, 7-star hotel, or whether we're in a hovel, it is important that we see both situations where we have everything as not interfering in any way with our spiritual practice, and where we have nothing at all similarly, that we are able to take these situations onto the path and see them as the means by which we can accumulate our causes, and that this is the way of taking the essence from our life.
是吧？但这个国内头部事务圈的这 Prime Minister、President 等等，差不多呢，确实推荐马少去。然后改没办法，教务事务这个两大事务这个是国内看下每个这边呢，啊第二确实改变了蛮多去。你看确实，但这个 top 高啥就加了，肯定这边呢，推荐要把它推荐嘛吧，肯定这边呢，确实改变了蛮多，确实推荐了多少中国人呢？
And so whether we become prime minister or president and we're operating at that level, or we're down in the very dregs as a homeless person with nothing at all, and to see both as we look at both with an equal attitude as simply providing me the conducive conditions for my practice, and that whether one has everything or nothing is beside the point, and that both situations are seen as conducive conditions for practice. In that way, we are able to take the essence from life. An absolute certain then that we will be able to move from happiness to happiness. The practitioner, as they say, is just that, somebody who is able to take whatever situation they are in to create the conducive condition, to see it as conducive conditions for practice. And that it's the person who can see whatever the situation is as conducive for practice and never as an obstacle to one's practice. And that is a fully qualified practitioner.
심지 탐제도 산제 고마토베 산제 고마토베 체도다 지가소데 저기 디 개견의 저와 튕견 차에 개견 저와 지에다 당가서 링게 차도 당가서 링게 차도 그 파종원의 튕견이 개견에서 연결되어 다 튕견의 개견의 이메데 랑게 녀몽을 쳐라잖아 개견 차기도 아니 녀몽을 갑자기 다 녀몽게 아니 저 가서 녀몽게 상만도 마당한테 튕견 차지기도 와 다들 가서 나로로 두가 다들 가서 리모트 컨트롤 소셜 라고라 냐투바 쟤네 아니 피게게 가서 출로그 튕겨다나 소셜 가봐 저저 많이 봤잖아 아니 출로 주에다 출로 저토바 소에가 리모트 컨트롤 소셜 냐투바 쟤네 제토바 이나 다 간제 아니 지금 내단 거대 좋아잖아 강하게 책임 말봐 추주벨 강하게 책임 말해
And so our objective is to attain a state of enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And therefore, really, it's our responsibility to be able to see all situations as conducive conditions for that purpose, for that practice, and none as an obstacle to that purpose. it's very, very important that we can understand also that when we allow mental affliction to hold sway, that creates an absolute terrible obstacle to our purpose of attaining enlightenment. And when we avoid the mental affliction and allow our better qualities to shine, that is a kind of very good choice for promoting the conducive conditions for our practice. And that this job is an inner work. It's the work of our inner world, and that we should understand that the remote control for that world we hold in our own hands, and nobody else. And so it's kind of like whatever the situation is, we try to make the unmistaken choice to be able to see it as a conducive condition for practice.
Kamba chigna lola TV chigma do mewaina TV chigma do mewaina kamba de la mikasha yowaina and sosuke chig demo do karaka kashe cricket kabo kashe soka kabo yona ko soka tembe to lamja pikato remote control len soka de tatuwa chigirwa ko ta dinanda chen kanja chig sosuke chig tajo mi zo de tabata 탐제 겸바 인자 오다 디기 뭐라 아니 저 배주 땅 두바 제치 그래도 배주 땅 두바 제치
So that it's like in a house with only one television and therefore one remote, and you'd have some people wanting to watch the cricket and other people wanting to watch the soccer, and whoever grabs the remote first, if the person wanting to watch soccer, therefore it has to be soccer. So we don't want it to be like that. We have the remote control for our inner world, and remembering that our objective is to attain a state of enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. We always have it on that channel of creating the conducive conditions, of seeing all as conducive conditions for the establishment of the causes to attain such a state.
다 근데 제가 이나 당 어저 세들 뇌가 사회 통해 대사 간도 좀 말해 사회 통해 대사 되게 용어 간라 안디가라 셈마지와 마이바잖아 셈시들 네트고도
And so with that in mind, if we're able to really establish that mindset, then regardless of what's occurring in this life, regarding food and drink or whatever the situation is, then we have no problems. We will remain happy in ourselves. We'll have a sense of well-being and can keep focused on the most important job.
어디가 다 되게 뭔가 지금 가서도 최다 투배 돈을 용되게 최다 투배 지단을 용되게 되게 아니 거기 비다고 시고 차대야 야고 시고 용되기로 야고 시고 용되기로.
And to be able to live in harmony with the Dharma is the best of all. It's the happiest of all ways of being.
시바 녀발라 세바 미리베 좀센네 싸월레 녀바 망보 톱주체 유링두소 대제장 준비 초바 지시도 좀 라바 동바 줬어.
The fourth of these subheadings was how the reasoning behind why clinging to material gain is incorrect. Verse number 59. Although I may live happily for a long time through obtaining a great deal of material wealth, I shall go forth empty-handed and destitute, just like having been robbed by a thief.
다 소소 대화 인저 다 대화랑다 차고에 미세 다 간제 저 제네 양대라 지금 가서 차배 온게 4만이 2만이 다 간제 저 야대다 야지 카데 도그래 저 가서 양 거기에 셈라 강에 저 여대가 저다 거들 이내 다 가이나면은 디다 대화를 제장 치외 돼서 아니 초비 초바신도 다 구마가 초조하지 아니 초바신도 아니 가서 괴매베 드모도 다래 구마게 다 두로 차장 초네 다 간제 저기 가서 가야 매버서는 봐 비당원의 신체네 가서도 괴매베 어서 드모다 노매베 라과 동바 저거 소 셔바오죠.
And so here the example of a a person who has gained a great deal of material gain over a life, over a long life, and has been able to use that with happiness. But at the time of death, it will have to be left apart. That such a person will, will have to experience a great separation anxiety of having to go on without all of that which they have accumulated over the course of this long life. And it's like as if you are being robbed. It said like a bandit. A thief has come and robbed you of everything, and you have to go on alone and naked into the next life. And so you go with no wealth and with empty hands.
我在那感觉这个让给三位决定马祖跑到的，哎，那早上那早的那个要嘛是吧？第么个的这个 weekend， 他说这个Sunday market 了，前脚在讲说个，俺那的 place 那地方沙龙买不真找过，他对这了那个地方沙龙买真专业了，他专业的，他感觉这个让给对这让给拉过来要嘛的，他专业对这的了，那个的那他。这个就叫他啥吧？这个，俺那等了，不过他咋说嘛？不要吧？那俺那就等到家里家，看这家这个看家里没把钱，他感觉这个多，他要着嘛？我就看着这说这个，他妈这个不过呢，俺那怕说看家里没把他就给等到了，他那俺那这个呢，看这家里他老爷他就是了他。拉家边我们不忙我这过的了，所以讲他感觉听说听业家讲，说那没刚刚看家没把钱，这个多，他这。내 당대 대대실 하되기도 아니 소소게 낭미 참고 매봐 소야치도 유튜브에서 찾되기도
and that kind of like we have no control over this time of death. The time of death is uncertain, and that it will always be like it's kind of like just happened, just creeping up on us. Like we might be going to the Sunday market to do our weekly shopping and put it all in the fridge, but you are dead before that fridge is emptied of those goods. There's no guarantee whatsoever that we are not in control of time, and that you can see also the way people live their lives. With so much effort and so much anxiety and so much pressure. We have a happy couple with children, and they're going along well, and then suddenly their problems arise within the relationship. There's a separation, then there's court cases, lawyers, families getting involved, a tremendous anxiety and stress, and and a lot of suffering involved, and all kind of like couldn't be foretold beforehand, but it happens.
다 소소 교사 디바사죠 되게 남이 디가 참고 매고 소소로 차대도
when the causes are accumulated and in the context of all this attachment, then these situations that can arise are going to happen.
어떤 차대도 어떤 다 가이려면 고 말했을 거마다 고다 고를 되네 디게 좀 쓰는 가르친 것도 다디 디게 철주에 튕겨를 가져라다 지 가져래 가서 다디 개처부터 제바데 아니 다 치말이 캐는 조주모도 딜레다 철주에 튕겨 배주 땅도 봐이나 철주에 뒤에 주베세 가서다 디가 철주에 튕겨를 배주 땅도 봐이나 로티바사의 주바지 바체나 다 개와사의 줄을 배주 땅도나 다 되대로 거 미스 되다 때 바차디로 다 팀에 바체는 그 다 개보지 저거 지기도 다디 개처부터 우선은 개도 거의 고고도 다 이래 거 디게 치지 많이 받잖아. 당바만 놓았지 디게 쳐버려도.
And of course, I'm not in any way dismissing the need for such relationships and so on. Of course, but it's the issue of placing so much importance and therefore attachment to all of these situations where the fault rise. That's where it specifically resides, and that we need to be able to see all conditions as conducive conditions for the practice of Dharma. That's important, and that that means that we are free of any negativities in regard to this. And negativities arise due to this attachment, and therefore you can have cracks in relationships. You can have problems thereafter. But there's nothing wrong with the relations in themselves. It's the amount of attachment we bring to them that causes the difficulty.
Well, so that never do, never. Never do riba, Kaba Netawale, Kede, Nebe Sujuna, because Dixie Sonan Chashana, Nebe Tondo Trojona, Sona City Mijura, Kanji Tondo Tasso, but Teni get a Yamjona, Diva Bashi, Chavaye, Soba Dego Chisijas.
And then the fifth of those subheadings was the refuting of it being right to amass material gain. Verses number 60 and 61. Surely material wealth will enable me to live, and then I shall be able to consume negativity and do good. But if I am angry on account of it, will not my merit be consumed and my negativity increase? And what use will be the life of one who only commits negativity, if for the sake of material gain, she causes the merits needed for life to degenerate?
Kede, never saw 20, never because Godo, take my soy 20 Janet, and you remember the source of death to what was a Sobajuna, and then a Diva Savage, so Sagis, Kawati, Cheto, and never to watch or Cheto, and never to go those to go to this lava interest and Tabayina, and never to the never to the Troajuna, and a Keba Sabia, son of their said to go to us. And Digwe Goba, that Digwa Gobaza, Digwa Goba Chagamaras and Mijuram, there. Goba Juna, Goba Kanji to the Tasun, the Goba Karisha Tasun, Soba, Tini, get it, Tani, Yami, get the Juna, so Sobati, Soso Yami, socially Mutun Dunga, again to Jugutana, Digwa Pashi Chebaye, Soba de Chisha, Soba de Chisha, Demeto, Soba de Demeba Chagitos, Demeto Shabawacha.
And so here the proposition is made that, what if I was able to accumulate material gain and over a long period of life, wouldn't that be a conducive reason, a conducive condition, whereby because of that I could eradicate negativity and accumulate great merit? And the question is then, but for the sake of gain, for the purpose of gaining that material wealth, if you do so through anger, then you are absolutely destroying eons of virtue that you of merit that you've accumulated, and also you will be stained by negativity because of that, and therefore the conducive conditions for the merits needed for life will be degenerating, and therefore it's wrong to have that attitude, and that you can only be engaged in if you are engaged in just solely negativity because of that, and therefore that makes it absolutely a pointless kind of way to live a life.
다 도도를 셔바는 예바 고그 말했어. 예배도 딕사주요 말해서 다 돈다들 와. 예바도 딕사주요 말. 예바 고 말해서 버는 가서 예바 고래. 가서 예바 맨날 거저 초도고 봐. 거저 상적을 누르 와. 예바 고고도 튕기 고고도. 이내 튕기 뒤체도 딕바사주면 도스. 다 튕기 뒤 소소소도 레고 온게 점점 튕기 창와요. 점점 마상와요. 애니 치 갱게 오게 난 튕기를 객 잡았는데 용 미스바 말해. 근데 중화 인바 온도 땅마 이나 양 컨트롤 사주면 도스. 컨트롤 사바 이나 아니 동네 지가라 동네 니사가 도스. 그러나 네바 맞으면 동네 디지가라 아니 동네 태바사가 도스. 가서 컨트롤 사바 때는 네바 용고 말와. 디네베 유 말와. 아니 딜 네바 마요에 갈라 무트네 아니 저거 동네 용에게 네바 마요에 유튜브도 와. 무트네 다 다다데 내가게 아니 저거 튕겨라서와 마요와 찍래. 다 컨트롤 사바할 때는 녀솔라기 딜레라 녀솔라기 주주고도 와. 녀솔라기 주주다 다다디다 총조로 와. 다다 녀바 디마라 디리 녀바 마라면 세니 녀바라 저거로 와. 다 녀솔라기 주주나 아니 가려운 거래. tia nyansong la gyu chig mare cha chig mare ta be mutu ne nyansong la ge ya mutu ne jaba gyu de nywa gyu de dang de la so ba mutu ne gyu sa ba sa ye ya je gen je chen gu duwa ta den de yin ba sa o den de yin ba yin sa di ge ta ga je je khong sa ju mon do nye ba de la cha be o yi khong sa ju mon do nye ba de 중화 인바데 소소를 배주 당한 유미대 대소를 랑 치와 니바 남지 님의 인자 소소를 배주 당한 유미의 대소를 니 개와 치만의 편도고 말해 다들 인바 인자 딜레데는 콘도 사주 문도 딜레데는 녀몽게 주주 문도 니바 중화 인바이네 중화대 최주배 튕겨를 배주 니바 마중화이네 마중화대 최주배 튕겨를 배주 당도 받지고도 뒷말로 받지고도 최주배 튕겨도 말로 받지고도 다들
And so here it's saying that the accumulation of materials or gain throughout life is not in itself a wrong thing. In fact, we have certain necessities, as been pointed out. We have a contaminated body, and that needs food, that needs nourishment, and so there's a certain needs there that we need. But it's saying here, but don't accumulate negativity on that account. That's what it's saying. Yeah, okay, to accumulate, but don't accumulate negativity on that account. There should be no anger involved in your livelihood, and it's very, very important, because if there's anger, then you're already accumulating negativity, but also you're bequeathing to yourself rebirths in the lower realms. So you have temporary unhappiness, and then you are also creating the causes for rebirth in the lower realms, where you'll have to undergo continuous suffering. So you have the fully ripened effect. You'll have the result that occurs with the behavioral cause, the result that occurs with the experiential cause, and so on. And this will go on and on and on. So you really have to make an unmistaken choice here, that you can accumulate, yes, and it's necessary that you have good standard of living, but not with including anger. It must be no anger. Also to temper your needs. You realize that death is definite, and that the time of death is indefinite, and that you really should see that time as to be able to make the maximum of that time, to kind of like try to cultivate an attitude whereby if gain comes your way, that's fine, because you see it, you'll be able to use it just as a means of creating positive causes and to engage in spiritual practice. But similarly, if gain does not come your way, it doesn't matter. You still are in those conducive conditions for practicing Dharma. Now that's the key point here.
그소소 마기바자 콘도사네 안 예바 용에 차가 말봐. 그 예바 유 말봐. 단 예바 모두 디 된데게 예바 마요 예바라 바제제 지금도나 안 소소게 지 겨왕남에게래 내가 망보지 질라 때네 와다 용고 요바지 랑게 사베 주디 가서 주사네 제보 용고 요바도 뭐저 렌데게 남샤다 초망보라 단다디 깨레만도 어느 거 주의소데 차가 말해 주의소 차가 말해 가시 예바라 바제 지금 중화 이나야 녀바 용대 용고요래 바제 지금 저는 바제 들라들 녀바 마용화 용고 말다 녀바 문에 마용화데 가서 랑기 레사 발라데는 랑기 저 들라데네 저거 용되기도 저거 용되기도 왔다 되게 렌데게 남사도 방고제 뭐쳐바제네 어느 되게제 알라도 녀바라 바제 지금 어느 코랑기 랭가 바사바티 어느 뭐쳐바들 니지기에 아고 녀발라 바체 지게도 코란제 지게는 저 몸바마시베 오게 지게 요래 디가데야 소슬라 마가와데 드레지도 야 지금 녀모베 온게 제한도 아니 딜라데야 지가소데 닝제당 디게데 공배도 줘야래야 삼로당야당 디게지체 오 디게지 가자 디게 녀모게 개개라 뭐 가서 가자 녀모게 튕겨라 만들어와지 녀모게 개개라 좋아지 로다 녀모게 개개라 좋아지 소토베치네 녀모 계획에 튕겨라 만들어와지 녀모 가베 다 녀모게 녀모 까야게 녀모 마기 그다 녀모 깨 맞줘야겠다 녀모 깨를 객지겐 저도와 제치 와다 어디 삼는 당고 또 다들 된다 좋아데 녀모 맞지와 지구래 서들에 다 된다 되래
And so, yes, that main point is to kind of like really avoid sort of sliding into unhappiness because you do not get what you want, or that there's a lack of that material gain in your life, because that will lead to anger. And then neither of those are causes that will bring about a change in fortune for you to gain anyway. And so it's very, very important that you see the correct cause and effect relationship between whether or not you have or have not gain or material gain. And that this is at the very heart of it, that whether the behavior that you're engaging in is creating the conducive conditions for gain or creating an obstacle to gain, you have to make the unmistaken choice about. And that to also to kind of like really understand that the lessons that we need to learn from the extent to which we are able to avail of material gain or not should come down to what will feed our compassion. And that's very, very important. And to kind of like really counteract the sense of a disliking for having not enough in our lives, and to realize that's very much connected with the mental affliction. And so what we need to do is to create the conducive conditions for our spiritual practice and to create obstacles for the mental afflictions, to really try to close the door and not give them the opportunity to arise, and to kind of do everything we can in that regard to prevent the mental afflictions from arising. And that's really at the heart of this.
당연히 저거 당부동을 주었대. 그저 최탐제 가서 유전 좀 뒤상 요 말에서 다 유전 저 뒤상 매월에서도 그 매배 때 말아 요 말이스고 요 말. 쪼그라 요 말. 다 유다한테 때내 줘 말에서 때려서 그게 멍부지 손다 용거로 와. 다 근데 이만 인저 랑게 녀바 중다 마 중스다 그게 멍부지를 손 용거로 와. 용거로 와. 다 그거 최탐제 때때에 세근데 거기 딜라 때때 아니 랑게 작당 거 로슈 충다 줘야다. 아니 저게 가서도 규견 때들을 녀바 숙차와 녀네 아니 오늘도 대화도다 디더 투베 아니 대외 주주다 미디베 동네이나 동네 그 아니 주 조다데 야고 못 쳐봤잖아 아니 디 아니 베 못쳐베 토네 아니 깍당 다 근데 냠네 지다지 중앙이나 뜨는 문에 전에다 지금 남바 천지 상황지 차기로 와 남바 천지 상황 차기로 와
And so, as we said at the outset as well, to kind of maintain in the forefront of our minds that all phenomena lack any objective existence, even at the atomical level, and that here that implies, of course, that they arise in dependence. They arise in, for example, in dependence upon causes and conditions, and that this is so all phenomena are in this way. Arise in this way. All phenomena are dependent arising or dependent originations, and to kind of like really gain as much conviction in this as we possibly can, and to to be able to understand that this is the way in which the world of kind of existence works and proceeds through cause and condition. All phenomena arise in dependence upon cause and condition. Therefore, I will be able to isolate the causes of suffering and put a stop to those causes. I will be able to recognize the causes for happiness and be able to accomplish those, to be able to accumulate those, and to make that fully, to be able to recognize that in every instance, it makes for a fully qualified Buddhist practitioner. So let's leave that there for today. So once again, we bring our mind to focus on the figure of the Buddha in front. And that, as we have discussed, the Guru Buddha also lacks any objective existence. Doesn't it exist in the way it appears?
Good. And then comes on to to Kabaki in and Chicaso de Takaja, Dunga Rashila Medebacha Kumbashe, Dunga Chaba to that Chaba to Jig Dunga Takaja, Matebacha, Chaba to Jig Dunga Yoba Inza, and it, she then and Dunga Dunga the Yon take it to that Chaba to Jig Dunga Mabang Bato, and Dunga Tawa take your Yon that is the and call comes on to Kawaki in it. The Muda there was any sort of me to that is what did the combustion at that? The Yabacho and John Combustion, Yabacho and John Combustion, then Yaba Lotte, Rangichiwola, and it's Casoda. Tavikingo Nyakawash Kuso, some such a Mulkonda, a Pamatama Kuso, some such a.
And so then when we are focused on the three realms of cyclic existence, and realize that there is no place within there where we can get beyond suffering. We have to engage and to experience the suffering of suffering and the suffering of change, and particularly that which induces the other two, the pervasive suffering. There is no rebirth within the whole of cyclic existence where we get beyond pervasive suffering. And that really ensures that there is no fully qualified happiness within cyclic existence. So we have to really think about renunciation, gaining a definite emergence from that reality. And that brings forth the symbolized by the lotus mandala at our crown, on our crown.
다 지난 게 condition 유대의 주와 second다 되자면도스 이단의 주와 되자면도 고 어디는 공부하시는 이단 주와면 이제 다 요해야 돼 된의 주와면도 다 도사 걸으면도 된에서 유대 주와 되자면 코다 주와 공부하시는 아니 된대 예배 로티 아니 가서데 님의 경우 약간 와체다 배마다 맞게 된데 내수 섭섭다 다니 다 된대 이마 인자 다 심제 탐제기도 산제 공부 주는 오다 주에 유되겠지 이제는 뭐 주와 인자고 다 규제 되더라 알레도다 아니 산제 이게 교 아니 다 되게 다 차차와지 주와이나 차차와 좀 맞춰와지 주와이나 다 산제 공부하시게 다 좀두고 요바 인바 인자 와다 되다 주주 얘는 맞춰는 다 싸우는데 지금도 서도 공부하시네 아니 심지어 탐정도 산제 공부 맞던 지금도 토바지 선서 코다 주고 공부하시네 와다 되게 예배 뜸바지 아니 다외 좀 원야가 하시는 아니 님의 때도 내서 삼사차.
And so then we contemplate how all linear and outer phenomena lack any objective existence, even at the atomic level. They just don't exist in that way whatsoever. That those phenomena, must arise in independence. That's their essential nature, and that we reach the point of just refuting the object of negation to produce the sun disk mandala seat at our crown. And this then implies that all phenomena arise independent upon causes and conditions, which allows us to even contemplate not only that, but to focus on attaining liberation for the benefit of all sentient beings, because we know that if we create the causes for enlightenment, it will come about. And so we generate that mind of enlightenment, which is symbolized by the moon disk mandala seed.
반대자가 라마를 뭐지 다게 지오면 그런 고속도 정보를 찾아서 소대전 소대를 맞숨제는 담배 가서 배죠 니베 가서 쇼 숨베 어떤 산제 공마도 제 소소 소가고 아니 야라도만 멘데다 잡아피 어떻게
Oh, glorious and precious Guru, come take your lotus and moon seed placed here on my crown. Keep me safe in your kindness, bestow me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation of the invocation verse, the Guru Buddha moves from the space in front. At the end of the second, arrives at our pre-prepared seat. And at the end of the third, we have the certainty that they will remain until we attain the state of enlightenment. We rejoice in this and make offerings of the 7 limbs of practice and the mandala offering.
어떤 공부시 어다데네 아니 지금 양조 년종 공부시 조시죠 감도 좋아지도 가봐게 개바 이내 다 동해를 맞대와서 공부시는 들려 타와지 뭐 타만 소 공부시 예바 좀 년종 공부시 아니 데데게 년종 예배 로데 아니 지금 라긴인데 빼마다 제지를 교수 삼사체 아니 지나가 저희 근데 저 이대 저 두상 요뭐 코다 저 공부시 아니 데데 예배 로데 매지 뭐 약간 주는 빼매던도 님 빼마다 제던도 내 소산사자 내가 심지어 탐정에도 산재 고만 요관이도 말로 타면 두바지기 선 공부시 안 되게 두바데 다이지 뭐 약간 주네 아니 님의 기고 되던 내 소산 내가 반대 자를 라마는 뭐지 다가 니가 변을 가지고 구소도 좀 우리 써도서 손대 잡을 때는 랑게 집어내 여기 나바채지 마 주네 아니 담배 가서 줘 입에 가서 쇼 선배 때도 좀 산재 고만 맞고 다 야고 쉬고 청소 다가자 산재 고마도 라마 두배 오면 제수 가고 되는 뼈마다 담아져도 막 가서 남빈ning 내서 뒤가도 도지가 생각하자 같이 뒤 타고도 두배 생각 다 해도 뭐는 마음을 스트레스 거 같아요. 아니 뒤 타들라 아니 지수 잡아야 무슨 엄마 알아봐서 나 디디디디디 생각들 뭐 숨을 거 같아요. 뒤 타고도 아니 때제가 순간 엄마 얘다 마샤만에 있어서 뭐 숨을 거 같아요. 어디는 공부시
And then again, we contemplate on the renunciation, the very fact that we can't get any fully qualified happiness within this realm of cyclic existence, and so we must attain that state of liberation. That thought is symbolized by the lotus mandala seed at our heart center, and also how inner and outer phenomena lack any objective existence, even at the atomical level, merely imputed, and we gain that sense of the mere negation of the object of negation, producing the sun disk mandala seed. And again, how through developing the correct causes and conditions, the state of enlightenment is possible for us. So we have this determination that I must do whatever I can to attain the state of enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, and that this indeed is something that produces the moon disk mandala seed. Then we recite the invocation verse again thrice. So glorious and precious Guru, come take your lotus and moon seed placed here at my heart. Keep me safe in your kindness, bestow on me the attainment of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the figure of the Guru Buddha moved into our crown chakra, down through the central channel, and the end of the second arrives at our pre-prepared seat. And at the end of the third, we again have that certainty that they will remain to look after us until we attain the state of enlightenment. We rejoice in this. Before the petals of the lotus fold over and are sealed at the tips by a white five-pronged Vajra, and surrounded by 3 mantras: the named mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha in a clockwise direction, the mantra of Manjushri in an anti-clockwise direction, and the mantra of dependent origination in a clockwise direction.
어들자 다랑게 닝고서 라마샤자 생겨서 쇼바디 고송토라 외서 빠도 매버트나 랑게 집어내 간디게 발로 외서 쳐발았다는 토마메반 디바들 켜봐도야 다가자 미게 주고 투전다 깨왔다 아니 다가자 제가 하나마다 라신 하나마다 녀바 세디어 생가마 딩가마자 토마메 디바들 디바디가 마 자친수서 아니 하도도 다가자 저 깨와디래 깨왕가마 딩가마 라소바 다가자 지금 가서도 돈바 소다가 도바 자주 선배 도바 상하게 도바다 그거다 내가 컨디션 사요나야 안데 장치다고 좀수 선도 어디를 고마셔 전에 다 간제 지금 가서 최나바다바 저거를 랑게 류다 셈니데 다 간제 대다지 매바 타면도 와 디저를 납치하 용도로 와 다데는 바인자 아니 지금 랑게 다 류기 나사 생게 동에 다 중식 커먼이 뭐 자롱 틸레 겨라 소바 컨디션에 바 장치 다네 아니 되게 그 수업 야고 싶은 중수 삼사자 하도다다 뉴도 산제 고마토와라 타메게 나시디 견치슈데 데네이자 타메 나시 견 탐제 다네 가난 산제 tak바라 잡바시 차도와 야고 쉬우조조 송사 공부시 되네 왔다 가자 랑게 십도 저 롱데 니랭게자 라마 샤자스가 고데 현재 지게자 랑게 류도 라마 샤자스가 콜라 주소 랑게 십도 서 셈데 제 라마 샤자스가 투데 현재 지게자 소스 셈데 라마 샤자스가 툴라 주소 랑게 룽아서 라마 샤자스가 고소 동고 예면 대화자 대도 니스마 이시 주소 섬사자 랑게 내사가 내데 녀기 견데 라마 샤자스가 다 가자 다베신도 주소 섬사 왔다 왔다 공부시
And then the light rays start to emanate from the figure of the Guru Buddha within the lotus petals, permeating through every cell of our bodies, from the crown of the head to the soles of our feet, and thereby purifying all negativities and obscurations that we have accumulated since beginning this time, including the infractions of the negativities of the 10 non-virtues and negativities that we've accumulated in today and the previous year, this life and the previous life to this, the previous life to that, back to beginning this time. All negativity is associated with the naturally occurring negativities and those prescribed by the Buddha. Negativity is associated with our infractions of the 3 vows, the Pratimoksha vows, the Bodhisattva vows, and the Tantric vows. All negativity is associated with a lack of respect for our parents up to our gurus, and then negativity associated with the body and mind, so essential for our perfect practice, and so therefore any sicknesses of the body or mind are purified. Any imbalances of the 4 elements and the channels, winds and drops, etc., are all rebalanced and purified. And the main obstacle to our quickly being able to attain enlightenment being our ordinary appearance, that is transformed into our being able to see with pure appearance. And then through the combination of my own most subtle wind acting as the substantial cause, together with the body of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own body is transformed into the enlightened body of the Buddha. And then through the combination of my own more subtle mind acting as the substantial cause, together with the mind of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own mind is transformed into the enlightened mind of the Buddha. I see my body, speech, and mind now as inseparable from the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha. This is something really wonderful. I rejoice, and this rejoicing, this turns from bliss combining with voidness, and I abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness. Also, the place that I am in is transformed of all fault and becomes the palatial abode of an enlightened being.
ran lama shaja singa kuzunda ngo yeme de juwa tila na la rashi me ba kuma che ti tuga ne an lama shaja singa simje ga chada ne ba phatro ne an khamsu ga simje ta ja lama shaja singa cha sangwa re de bala de ne an de da ta ja kiji ga lama shaja sa kuzunda ngo yeme ju ne de da ta ja lama shaja singa da be she do ju so samsa o ta ya bo shu jo simje tamje ga sanje kuma tu me ni ma de ju tu su so na ka ko.
And then seeing myself as a fully enlightened Buddha, also in lacking any inherent existence, send out light rays equal in number to all of the sentient beings in all the 6 realms of existence. Upon dissolving into them, they are spontaneously arise as fully enlightened beings. The places that they are in also transformed of all contamination and become pure palatial abodes of enlightened beings. This is wonderful. Today is the day in which I have been able to lead all sentient beings to that state of enlightenment, and I rejoice.
Di chedo ane sozi kiawa ka chuwa, de chugun sozo de cheba ka yuden na ma chuwa, tokwa parla zamre so di dewa de tongba de do nisme ishi keso samsaje.
And then this leading all sentient beings to the state of enlightenment, the virtue that has facilitated that, and myself as the agent of that virtue, completely lacking any objective existence, merely imputed by thought. That produces a state of bliss, which combines with voidness, and I abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness.
Voilà, so, tata mozo samlatang ete, meba yiji ka samlatang, ngune kaya tanda lala wita yomarwa, ina yang tanda samlatang wa nanshin chan, ngune kora teta yuwa nyudu chube, ane gyuru gyuwa sho, ngowa chiye ta. Aktuan to ta, tende chi yuwa la, rang sanje kuwa ma tamadwa, rang sanje kuwa toba la, ane gyu, ti gyu, toni niji nyingbo chiga lamri gyu la mala wa tamadwa. Ta tende yinba yinza, ta rangi chiga, zho, nye, de, ta kanza, 지금 졸람납시 컨디션 바이나야 아니 디 튕겨도 줘야 개견도 줘야 아니 지 가서도 개가 나지 컨디션 좋아이네 디 튕겨도 이렇게 타마 치와이네 치와디에 디 튕겨로 줘도와 지에다 마치다 타마도 좋아지기 선에는 담자 샤잖아 아니 어때잖아 나 가투도 어떤 사람도 다 했지
And so then and of course, I'm operating here at the level of imagination and aspiration. This reality doesn't manifest as quickly or as easily as that, and yet I do dedicate with absolute sincerity that it will actually be made manifest as quickly as possible, being cognizant of the fact, of course, that I must attain enlightenment. And to do that, I must create all the causes that lead to that state of enlightenment. Therefore, I now vow that in whatever situation I find myself in, whether it's a moment of happiness or sadness, that with all the paths of action I take, even when I'm sick, even to the point of death, I will make sure that I lay down the causes to attain that state of enlightenment. Loi mo san ye ro wo jie dan mo de sa lai go ra shu Nan jub sen jo re ma ke pa na ma ke gyu ke pa nya pa me go ne go be ra Tôi nhớ ta rêu bôi mà kê pa na ma kê yoi kê pa nhớ bôi nhớ bôi con nhớ con đôi phèo ra Soi gang ria ra ve ko ve xin ga ban de ne dan de wa ma le zhong ve ne jie ria se wa den zhen jia zuo yi sha be si de ba do de yu ro ji me o ze o ve Lo san trai be ya lai so wai de me oi ze we te Wong Bui Ja Be Ya Gong Chen Be Tu Kien Tong Ga
Lo
Sang Wong Bo Gong Tian Zhe Kian Dong Lo Sang Sha Lo So. You are Avalokiteshvara, a great treasure of compassion, not aimed at true existence, and Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, as well as Vajrapani, destroyer of hordes of demons without exception. Tsongkhapa, crown jewel of the sages of the land of snows, Losang Drakpa at your feet, I make request.
That's all. No, touch it. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you again.